A household making $140,000 a year is more likely to go bankrupt today than a single-income family was 40 years ago. That's not an opinion. It's math. And if you have two incomes, this video might make you uncomfortable. Let me describe a couple to you, and tell me if this sounds familiar. Jane is a project manager making $72,000 a year. Mark is in sales, bringing home $68,000. Combined, they're pulling in $140,000. On paper, they are the American dream. They're in the top 20% of earners in the country. By all rights, they should be cruising. They should have a fat savings account, a maxed out $400K, and zero stress when the check engine light comes on. But here's the reality. Jane and Mark are drowning. They are living paycheck to paycheck. Every month is a high-wire act of balancing the mortgage, the car payments, the student loans, and the staggering cost of daycare. They are exhausted. They barely see each other because they're both grinding 50 hours a week to maintain a life they don't even have time to enjoy. If you've ever looked at your joint bank account and thought, "We make way too much money to feel this broke," you are not crazy. And you are not alone. You have fallen into a systemic, mathematically designed hole that's swallowed the middle-class whole over the last 40 years. It's called the two-income trap. And today, I'm going to show you exactly how having two paychecks might actually be the very thing making you poor. My name is Maven, and I spend way too much time thinking about the hidden mechanics of wealth and why the obvious financial advice usually fails. If you are someone who is working alongside a partner, both of you grinding, and you can't figure out why you are still treading water, make sure to hit the subscribe button and give this video a thumbs up if this helps you out. Here's the thing. We have been sold a story. The story says that two incomes are a safety net. It seems like simple math, right? If one person making $50,000 can support a family, then two people making $50,000 each should have an extra $50,000 for building wealth. Except, for the vast majority of families, that's not what happened. What actually happened is one of the most brutal financial bait and switches in modern history. We didn't get twice as rich, we got twice as vulnerable. And if you don't understand the math behind this trap, you will spend your entire life working twice as hard for half the security. And near the end of this video, I'm going to show you the exact framework wealthy dual-income families use to escape this trap without sacrificing their lifestyle. Look, most financial gurus tell you that you are broke because you buy too many lattes or you don't use enough coupons. I'm here to tell you that's total nonsense. The term two-income trap wasn't invented by a YouTuber. It was coined by Elizabeth Warren, long before she was a politician, back when she was a Harvard bankruptcy law professor. She and her daughter, Amelia Warren Tyagi, studied over 2,000 families who filed for bankruptcy. They expected to find a bunch of profligate spenders who bought too many big-screen TVs. Instead, they found something terrifying. The families going bankrupt weren't the wild spenders. They were hardworking, two-income households with kids in suburban homes. In fact, their data showed that a two-income family in the early 2000s was more likely to go bankrupt than a single-income family from 1970. Let that sink in for a second. Working twice as much made these families less secure that if you have kids, a mortgage, and two full-time jobs right now. I want you to pay close attention to the next part, because this is where most families realize they're standing on a financial landmine. Why? Because in 1970, a single-income household had a hidden insurance policy. If the breadwinner got sick or lost their job, the stay-at-home parent could enter the workforce. They had a massive, untapped reserve of labor. But today, both parents are already working. Both incomes are already committed to the mortgage and the bills. There is no backup plan. There is no plan B. When both of you are running at 100% capacity just to keep the lights on, one bad flu or one corporate restructuring doesn't just hurt. It destroys you. This is where it gets really interesting. Most people think their spouse's income is a bonus. They think, hey, Jane makes $50,000, so that's $50,000 more for us. Here is what most people don't realize. That second income is the most expensive money you will ever earn. Let's run the math. Let's say partner 1 makes $70,000. Partner 2 decides to take a job making $50,000. You think you're $50,000 richer. You are not. Not even close. This is where the illusion starts breaking. 1. The progressive tax hit. Because of how tax brackets work, That second $50,000 is stacked on top of the first $70,000. It's taxed at your highest marginal rate. Between federal, state, and Social Security taxes, you're looking at roughly 30% to 35% gone instantly. $50,000 minus $15,000 equals $35,000 remaining. Now comes the cost nobody mentally subtracts. 2. The childcare tax. If you have kids, someone has to watch them while you're both at the office. According to the Department of Labor, the average cost of childcare in many U.S. counties is now over $15,000 per year per child. If you have 2 kids, well, you're already in the red. But let's be generous and say one child at $15,000. $35,000 minus $15,000 equals $20,000 remaining. And here's the expense that feels small but compounds brutally. 3. The commuting and wardrobe costs. Gas, insurance, maintenance on a second car, and professional clothing. The average American spends about $5,000 a year just on the privilege of commuting to work. $20,000 minus $5,000 equals $15,000 remaining. This last one is invisible, but it's the real killer. 4. The exhaustion expenses. This is the psychological driver no one talks about. When both parents work 40-plus hours, who has the energy to meal prep? Who has the time to mow the lawn, clean the house, or hunt for the best insurance rates? 2-income families spend significantly more on convenience services. Uber Eats because you are too tired to cook, $3,000 per year. House cleaning services, $2,400 per year. Last-minute convenience purchases because you didn't have time to plan. Let's call it $7,000 in lifestyle friction costs. $15,000 minus $7,000 equals $8,000. The final result, partner 2 worked 2,000 hours this year. They dealt with a boss they might hate, a commute they definitely hate, and missed their kids' first steps, all to bring home a net profit of $8,000. That is $4 an hour. You aren't building wealth. You're trading your life for $4 an hour while the system convinces you that you're a high-earning household. Now, you might be thinking, Maven, even if it's only $8,000, that's still more than zero. And in a vacuum, you'd be right. But we don't live in a vacuum. We live in a competitive economy. Here's the thing. When every family in America moved from 1 income to 2, the purchasing power of the average household doubled. And what do humans do when they have more money? They bid against each other for the things they want, namely, housing in good school districts. In 1970, families with 1 income competed for houses. In 2026, families with 2 incomes are competing for those same houses. This has created an arms race. It's like everyone showing up to an auction with borrowed money, bidding against each other for the same house, and then being shocked when the price doubles. According to the Federal Reserve, the median home price in 1970, adjusted for inflation, was around $210,000. Today, it's over $420,000. Housing costs have literally doubled. Why? Because the market knows you have 2 incomes. The banks know you have 2 incomes. They've adjusted the entry fee for the middle class to require both of them. You aren't buying a bigger, better house than your parents had. You're paying twice as much for a similar house because you're bidding against another exhausted 2-income couple who is also desperate to get their kids into a top-rated school. This is the trap in the 2-income trap. You have to work 2 jobs just to afford the 1-income lifestyle of 40 years ago. You've escalated your spending to meet the market, and now you're locked in. If one of you quits, the mortgage doesn't go down. The property taxes don't go down. You've bid away your flexibility. Now, we have to talk about the psychological driver behind this, the Joneses. When you see your combined income of $130,000 or $150,000 on a tax return, it triggers a wealth identity. You feel like you should live a certain way. We're a 6-figure family. We should have the granite countertops. We should have the SUV with the leather seats. We should go on that $8,000 Disney vacation. This is where the math gets deadly. Because you see the big gross number, you feel entitled to the big lifestyle. But as we just showed, your net gain from that second income is tiny. Most people use the second income to qualify for a bigger loan. They use it to justify a higher fixed cost of living. This is the biggest financial mistake you will ever make. You are valuing social proof, the appearance of being wealthy, over optionality. In 1970, If a dad hated his boss, he could quit, and the family could tighten their belt for a few months while he found a new job. Today, if you hate your boss, you're trapped. You can't quit. You're one missed paycheck away from losing the $500,000 house you bought using both incomes. You have traded your freedom for a nicer zip code. Was it worth it? Most people never ask that question until it's too late. If you remember nothing else from this video, remember these 3 steps. This is where theory turns into freedom. If you're already in the trap, how do you get out? It requires a radical shift in how you view your money. Most people treat their income as one big bucket. You need to stop doing that immediately. Step 1. The one income foundation. From this moment forward, your goal is to live your fixed life on the lower of the 2 incomes. The mortgage, the utilities, the groceries, the insurance, the things that must be paid every month, should ideally fit within one partner's take-home pay. Now, I know what you're thinking. Maven, that's impossible. We live in Los Angeles, New York, Austin. We can't afford a house on one income. Look, I'm being real with you. If you can't afford your life on one income, you are living a high-risk lifestyle. You are a financial fragile. You need to either increase the primary income, downsize your fixed costs, or acknowledge that you are living without a safety net. Step 2. The second income is a wealth accelerator only. If you manage to get your fixed costs down to one income, the second income becomes a superpower. It doesn't go toward a car payment. It doesn't go toward a bigger house. It goes toward 1. A 6-month emergency fund, because you're currently one layoff away from disaster. 2. Eliminating all consumer debt. 3. Investments. When you invest the entire net second income, compounding works on steroids. You aren't just getting by. You are buying back your time at a rate 10x faster than anyone else. Step 3. Calculate your real hourly wage. I want you to sit down tonight with your partner. Do the math I showed you earlier. Subtract the taxes, the childcare, the commute, and the exhaustion spending from the second income. If the number at the end is $5,000 or $10,000, ask yourself, is it worth it? Would you be better off with one partner working part-time or staying home to handle the domestic labor that currently costs you $10,000 a year in convenience fees? Sometimes, less income actually results in more wealth because your expenses drop faster than your earnings. True wealth is not about how much you earn. It's about how much you don't need. The person making $150,000 who needs $150,000 to survive is poor. They are a slave to their paycheck. The couple making $100,000 who only needs $50,000 to survive is wealthy. They have 50% margin. They have the power to say no. The two-income trap is a trap because it robs you of your no. It turns you into a cog in a machine that requires 80 hours of labor per week just to stay stationary. By building a one-income foundation, you are reclaiming the resilience our grandparents had. You are creating a life where a job loss is an inconvenience, not a catastrophe. Imagine the psychological peace of knowing that if one of you wants to stay home with a new baby, you can. If one of you wants to start a business, you can. That's what money is for. It's not for buying things, it's for buying choices. The economy has changed. The system is now designed to extract every drop of productivity from your household. It wants both of you working, both of you spending, and both of you borrowing. But you don't have to play that game. You can choose to live differently. You can choose to be the couple that lives in the smaller house but has the bigger bank account. You can be the couple that isn't stressed on Sunday nights because you don't need the jobs you're going to on Monday. It's going to take some tough conversations. It might mean selling a car. It might mean moving. It definitely means ignoring what your neighbors are doing. But I promise you, the view from the other side of the trap is worth it. If this video opened your eyes to the math of your own household, do me a favor, share it with your partner. Sit down, do the math, and start building your one-income foundation today. This isn't about going backwards. It's about designing a life that doesn't collapse the moment one paycheck disappears. Don't forget to subscribe to Maven Invest for more deep dives into the psychology and math of building real wealth. Hit the like button if you're ready to stop being two-income broke. I'll see you in the next one.